everybody, and welcome to the very latest Cats podcast. We're here tonight to talk about one particular game. Well, we might also talk about that Rangers one, but one particular game certainly springs to mind, and that is Southampton 0, Tottenham Hotspur 5. It's a particularly good game, a game that's going to make us all happy and smiley. There's only two of us at the moment, but we may well be joined by some guest stars later on. Ash and myself are here right now. Hello, Ashley. How you doing?
I got one word, no, a couple of words from Maximus from Gladiator. Are we not entertained?
I was particularly entertained. I was hooping and hollering it up with my 8-year-old son for the first half. And then I sent him to bed at half time. And at that point, all the entertainment went. All the goals stopped. I was like, halfway into the second half, I was like, maybe I should go get him out of bed because we might score some more. He woke up this morning and his first thing was like, can I watch the goals from the second half? And I was like, there were no goals in the second half.
That's
He was like, what? So yeah, that was it was quite entertaining. But I really, really enjoyed that game. Mainly, and I know this sounds really sad and old and boring, but we kept a clean sheet. Ash, we kept a clean sheet. It's been a long time since we kept a clean sheet. So I'm really happy to see it. I thought Fraser Forster definitely did his job again last night. Our defence is a bit makeshift, but it's generally doing its job. And I felt that perhaps last night was the best defence we have available to us at the start. What did you think?
Yeah, I got to start with since you mentioned defense with Fraser Forster. He has been a kind of a revelation in the sense that I didn't think he had any, and I'm sure a lot of us thought didn't have it in him anymore. And there were people panicking, who are we going to get in January and whatever, Fraser, you got to hand it to him. He has kept us in almost every game, including the Rangers game, and didn't have much to do yesterday. So starting with him, considering we've got 3 of the back 5 out, starting with him, and then I think Radu, I think your wife will be happy. Radu and Archie, Radu and Ben, Radu and Archie have been doing a stellar job given where we are, and our fullbacks having to play every single game. But yeah, starting with defense, and then one other aspect of the defense, Jed Spence.
Yeah. So this is my only thing. I was just saying our best available defence. Now, I personally think that Pedro Porro is better for the team. But Pedro at the moment looks absolutely knackered. And I think the guy needs a rest. He's been playing every single game pretty much all the way throughout the season. I think he's had 2 games where he's not played. That's it. And we've had a lot of games so far. And he's got a very physically demanding role. He needs to get up and down the pitch, back and forth throughout the entire thing. And it's no surprise he's looked knackered. And I've been calling for ages to get our young man Jed Spence some more time on the pitch because I think he's very, very good. But it's just not happened. And I was thinking, well, if it doesn't happen against Southampton, it may not happen at all. So very, very nice to see him on the pitch. And he made his presence felt within, 36 seconds? Did you enjoy that little start to the game?
Absolutely. It's amazing what start off on the right foot and how it can impact everything. There have been a couple of games. I actually think the Ipswich game where Brennan, he didn't fluff it, but he just missed a very early chance, and that might have changed the whole perspective on that particular game. So it's pretty wonderful when you start off that way. I also thought that, speaking of that goal, Jed Spence setting it up on a fantastic play, beating his man. He was pulled. The guy was yanking on him. He was kind of tripping him, and he used his strength to get through. And a beautiful Modric-like outside of the foot pass. And then the guy who scored it is a guy that we have slayed here a lot on this podcast. And yet, Mr. Maddison came up with the goods. He was actually involved with almost everything good that we did. Don't know why.
He was good. I still have my issues with him. He likes to take maybe a touch or two too many throughout the game. He spent an awful lot of time on the floor for little knocks, and I think it's almost getting to the point where some of his teammates are feeling slightly unhappy with it as well. I mean, there was one point where he was down, not in the last game, but in one of the previous games. He went down, and Berryval, however we're going to say his name, was like putting his hand down to him, saying, "Come on, get up, let's get the game going again." And the way that Ange wants to play is he wants to keep the ball moving, he wants to keep the intensity going, and I don't think James Maddison lying on the floor and rolling around helps maintain that pressure and that intensity. So it's one thing I'd really love to see him get out of his game. And I know it's something that professional footballers do. You know, you get a knock, you go down, you hold your ankle, and you stay down to making sure you're going to get something, and you put a little bit extra pressure on the referee. But it doesn't help us at the moment when he does it.
Or get a knock and then on your ankle and hold your face.
Well, yeah, we've seen worse.
Not saying that Maddison does that, but you see that a lot.
Yeah, and Dombele did it. He got a whack on the shin and fell down holding his face. That was not good.
So yeah, let's just backtrack to Jed Spence. What I don't know. I think many of us were going, what did he do? Does he not train well? That Ange goes, nah, he's just not putting out an effort, so I'm not going to play him, because as you said just now, Porro has been run into the ground. By the way, I want to say something about Porro. He's not a great defender. I like his attitude. I like his shot making, and I like his forward type of movement. He's not a great defender. I actually think that, Royal, I think we thought was a better defender, but just pretty useless going forward. What was holding Jed back? And moving it forward, does he get a start against Man U and or Liverpool?
I think he'll get a start against Man U, but I suspect it may well be at left back, depending on how well Destiny Doggy's doing, because he went out of the game with a little bit of an injury. I think they said it was a quad injury. Yep. He was feeling a tightness in his quad muscle, which is exactly what happened with Christian Romero. So that could be 4 weeks out if it's similar. Let's put it that way. What's going on with him? James Maddison said something about him being a very laid back guy.
Right.
Now, some people don't always take well to other people being very laid back, especially in high intensity situations. And maybe Ange wants to see more from him in terms of his application, more from his desire to be out there on the pitch and wanting to be a first teamer. Maybe he thinks he shouldn't be happy being a backer. He should be pushing to be a first team player. And maybe this has been his way of getting to that. But honestly, it's all speculation because none of us know apart from Ange and maybe a few people in his close circle. But it's one of the few things I can think maybe it's that. I mean, Ange just said that he was likely to leave, but the way he came back over the summer, the way he trained, changed his mind basically and left him staying at the club and being a part of the first team squad. Something clearly Sergio Reguilon did not manage to do. If Sergio Reguilon had been able to do it, that could have saved us a lot of money because I still think we need another left back. But there's always lots of buts, isn't there? It's
so he might start then. That's a very good point. Because, by the way, I find Maddison, when he's interviewed, I find him very forthright, very honest, a lot more than Ange is, because Ange is the manager, and you don't want to, focus on one or center out one person over another or whatever. But I've noticed in interviews, Mattis really seems to be, and that was a pretty observant point of view about his relaxed attitude. By the way, it reminds me of Harry Redknapp and Asu Okado. Do you remember
Yeah,
when
a little bit.
Harry was he's so freaking laid back? He turns up and goes for game day and goes, "Who are we playing today?"
Yeah, Crouchy was saying that. Peter Crouch was saying that. He said, you turn up and Benoit Chicot said, "Who are we playing today?" It's like, Benoit, we've been talking about this all week. We've been doing specific training things to go against this one team. It's like, yeah, but I forgot. Like, you gotta love Benoit Chicot.
That sort of laid back attitude seemed to work under Harry. Let's hope that Ange now realizes that he's a bit laid back off the field, but put him in the game. Listen, he was terrific in that wing back role as that inverted. He really was, and his defending was up to snuff. Let's see what happens against a better team. But yeah,
yes,
yeah. So yeah,
yeah. The against a better team, I think, is the issue here, because playing well against Southampton is not going to be the same as playing up against Manchester United or Manchester City or enter top 10 club here. They've got to step up the game and do it against other big teams. Yes, it's great to score 5 goals.
That's a misnomer, Stu, because we've actually beaten Man U, City twice, and Aston Villa. The problem is not stepping up.
We always beat City. We always beat City. What are you on about?
unable to break down those low block teams. That is what the problem has been, including Arsenal, who came to our ground and played low block, and we couldn't break them down. So it's not. We seem to step up against the bigger teams, but we're unable to break those other teams. That's my perception of it. Anyway. They all have to step up.
I think we struggle against sides. We struggle against sides that want to break the game up. Maybe not play low block, but want to slow the game down. That don't rush to get the ball back in play. That want to disrupt the flow of our game. So that's why we struggled against Ipswich. That's why we struggled against Crystal Palace. There's a table floating around that shows the clubs that get the ball back into play quicker than any other, and we are at the top of the table. Absolutely. We get the ball back into play significantly faster than anybody else. And then I think the next one is Liverpool, and I think Manchester City after that. And at the bottom of the table, you've got Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, all the teams we struggled against. So for me, I think it's we rely on having that tempo. We're relying on having that intensity, and as soon as it's broken up by teams trying to slow the game down and make things take us out of our pattern, then we struggle to get back into the flow. And that for me is a mentality thing. And once again, we're back into mentality because I'm always banging this drum. You know me.
Yeah. By the way, I was really pleased. I've been pleased with Ange in some ways making changes that are enforced changes, but he actually is doing. I remember before the season, I actually said, you know what? I don't mind if we take a hit on this season. If we've brought in these young guys, let's see what they can do. I think he's been forced into playing Spence, Bergvall, Gray, and good on him for doing so. I quite like it. It shows a degree of flexibility. Once again, forced flexibility that I think will suit him well.
It has been forced upon him a bit, I think. He's not rushed to play the youngsters when he's had a fully fit squad. But then at the same time, you wouldn't expect him to. When he's got a fully fit squad of internationals that are in their prime, then, or close to it, or building up, then why would you play 18 or 19 or 20-year-olds? Yeah, you got to look and say who's the most likely to get you the results.
Absolutely. We finished the game with 4 teenagers on the field.
Yeah.
And started 2 18-year-olds. That's fantastic. That's pretty great, actually. It's what I was hoping for, and still take a hit on the season. I believe that. I think that this game on Thursday is very big. We're only 2 games from the final, which is the closest we are to any cup. The closest we are to any cup is the Carabao Cup final. 2 games away from the final.
Of course, Liverpool are still in it. They've got to play Southampton on Wednesday. We're still yet to beat Manchester United. Let's hope we do on Thursday night. It's far from an easy run. I think if it was just down to a couple of Championship sides and us, then great, we'd be well up for it. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think, even though it's not the Premier competition. But it's not the Premier competition. But even if it's not the Premier competition, Liverpool are going to want to win it. Liverpool are going to want to have a competition, a trophy under their belt early on in Slot's tenure. So I think they've got their eyes on it, as we should, as every club that's in it at this point should.
I believe it's been either City or Liverpool who've won the last 5 or 6 of them. So they certainly, the top teams, have their eyes on. And I'm not saying it's a guarantee. I'm saying in terms of reality, this is the closest we've got to getting to a final. We still have to perform on the pitch, of course, but this is the closest. So let's get this first one done, and then one more and in the final.
Yeah, no, I'd be very, very happy. I just want to put together a run of games against Premier League opposition. If we can beat Manchester United, that would be excellent. If we can then follow it up with Liverpool, that would be absolutely amazing. But I don't have high hopes for that, I'll be honest. I think we've got a better chance of playing against Nottingham Forest, because although they're in very, very good form, they're not a better side. Even with our injury issues, I think we can put out a better side than they have. And then it comes down to tactics and motivation of the players. And I would hope that they're looking and saying, right, these guys are in the position we want to be in. And if we want to get up there, we've got to beat teams like them.
Yeah, what is Nuno doing over there at Forest? I don't know, because I don't really watch them. But he must be doing something right over there.
I don't know. I've not really watched Nottingham Forest since I stopped getting paid to watch games of other teams. I've stopped watching other teams. I'm just enjoying Spurs nowadays. So
I'm the same.
Yeah. So I can relax. I can enjoy the games of football that come along. I might take in an Italian game or a Spanish game every so often, but it's very rarely nowadays. So I'm just concentrating on what Tottenham do, and I think that's what the Spurs players need to do as well. What can we do as a club? Not worry about what other teams are doing. If we get the results in our games and we put in the consistency and the kind of performance we need to, then we will end up where we deserve to be. And hopefully that will be top 4. Although that is a very, very big ask right now.
As of yesterday's game, the starting midfield, what do you think about that? And do you think we could start that same midfield on Thursday?
I don't know. I think Basuma will be back. And I think potentially with Basuma back, you can put together Maddison and Kulusevski in the same midfield. So I don't think we will play that midfield against Manchester United. I really think it's a pointer towards the future. I think we saw some real talent in there. I think we started to see Bergvall showing what he can do in the Premier League. I still don't think we've seen the best of him, and I think there's more to come, because the Bergvall we saw in pre-season was more confident, did things more off the cuff, and was playing more interesting balls. He did very well last night. Somebody on social media was saying, these are his numbers, he was excellent, you know. And I say, well, I'm not sure he was excellent, but he was a normal Premier League player, which for an 18-year-old getting used to the league is incredibly good going. You know, to put in a standard Premier League midfielder performance at his age is extremely good going. And I think it says even more about Archie Gray, that Archie Gray looked more than competent in what he was doing in a position that's not his position, in fact not even his secondary position, and he's only 18 years old, and he's got some filling out to do. He's still quite slim. He's not even got the build of someone like Will Lancashire. I mean, did you see Lancashire when he came on? He looked like Superman. Yeah, tight waist, big shoulders. That boy could be the next Superman, I tell you. But when Archie Gray starts to fill out, and he may well be the strong, wiry type, but if he fills out, he's going to be a hell of a young player. He's already got that composure. He's got a good touch. His head's on a swivel. I really like what I see from Archie Gray. And I think we're going to be seeing him for a very, very long time in Tottenham colours, unless someone comes in and offers us a significant amount of money.
He has literally played every back position, both backs and both left center and right center back for us. And I have not seen him, because I think he played at fullback for Leeds. So I don't think we've actually seen him even in highlights play in the midfield, have we?
In pre-season, he did. So in pre-season, we had one game where he played in midfield, and we also were playing Berival in midfield at the same time. And at the time, I looked at it and thought Berival is the player who's more likely to break through and be that one player that we really go, wow, he's making a breakthrough this season. Right now, I don't think it's going that way. He's needed the time to settle in. He's needed probably 6 months to settle into the club, get used to the pace of the league. And everybody says it is different to playing any other league in the world. So he's needed that time. He's adjusted. I think he's starting to come good. But I think there's more to come. But Archie Gray's come in having played a full season of Championship football at right back and in central midfield occasionally, and he's showing his quality. And we spent a lot of money on him, but I think he's showing he could be worth it, because if you spend £40 million on an 18-year-old, you're going to get a lot more out of them long term than if you spent £40 million on a 25-year-old. So let's look long term and hope that it continues to go that way.
Totally agree. What do you think?
What about Dorrington? You watched the match, right? You managed to watch the entire match.
Yeah.
What did you think of Dorrington?
He's big. Holy jeez, he's bigger than Superman.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. Didn't get to see too much. Interesting that they put Archie out to left back when Dorrington came in. Archie, you can play any position. We'll just shift you back out there, you know. We need another striker. Do you mind going up there for a bit, you know? Didn't see enough of him. You've probably watched some of the games. I did want to speak before he played Dorrington about Radu, because he's been playing every game. But I don't know enough about this guy. I don't even know his first name.
I think he's another Archie. Alfie Dorrington, I think. So Dorrington, I've seen him maybe twice this season. In the youth, he's had an injury that's kept him out for most of the season. Last season, he looked good, but he looked like he could get out-muscled. This year, he's come back. He looks stronger physically. I thought last night, he coped very well. When he came on last night. He looked at home in a difficult position. But I do think the Southampton strikers were not really top class. But even a good championship striker will give a youngster difficulties. And I think Adam Armstrong is a decent championship striker. But, with his experience, with his movement and ability, if there had been a weakness there, then Dorrington could have been taken advantage of. But I thought he played well. He's always been good on the ball. He picks out a nice pass. It's just that strength, I think. It's always been a little bit lacking for me. But right now, I think he's looking good. I have seen the times I've seen him this season. He's not looked great. I did.
Well,
I had high hopes for him last season.
Yeah, I'm glad he got his debut because we may need him. Now, Dragusin, I think he's gone from strength to strength, and a main part of it is probably because he's just playing more regularly, and adapting to the Premier League, just like you were saying about Bergvall adapting to the Premier League. He has become our number one centre back through,
through necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention, so they say.
Yes, exactly. Diminishing resources.
Yeah, diminishing resources.
He's become our number one.
I think it was a good move to get him in when we did, because we needed him last season, and he played some minutes. He came on and looked okay. Never really looked at his best. He didn't look like the player we'd seen in Italy. This season, when he first came in, he looked really rough. I think there's no way to sugarcoat it. He did not look great when he came on for his appearances this season. But the last few games, he started to look more at home, more comfortable, more up to speed with the game. There's still a few things. There was one pass last night which was so loose. It just got picked off and put us under trouble. So it's still not the finished article, but he's 22 years old. He's a central defender at 22 years old, playing in the Premier League. His first full season in the Premier League. You've got to say, right, there's some leeway for that. And I was one of the people saying, I'm not sure he's ever going to make it. I'm not sure he's ever going to adapt. But he's starting to look as though he may be able to. If you'd asked me a few weeks ago, if somebody had put 25 million down on the table and said, take it or leave it, I'd be like, yep, okay. Can I take half of the arm? Do I take the full arm along with this, or just the money?
Well, I see an upward trajectory, and if number 17 takes off in the summer, then he becomes our starting right centre back, and
he could well do indeed.
That upward trajectory, good for him.
Well, we could find ourselves losing Romero, who's got, I believe, 1 or 2 years left in his contract after this summer. And then at the same time, apparently Real Madrid are looking at Pedro Porro as well. Although I think, frankly, if Real Madrid have the choice between Trent Alexander-Arnold and Pedro Porro, they're going to be going for Trent Alexander-Arnold. So, yeah. But if those two go, then we kind of have the replacements in-house already. You've got Dragusin to play in instead of Romero. And I think Dragusin next to Mickey van der Ven could work very nicely. You've got your stopper and you've got your sweeper. And then on the right-hand side, if Jed Spence is ready to take that step up, then excellent. Otherwise, it frees up a spot for maybe Archie Gray to come in and play every single game for a season, rotating for a little break every so often with Jed Spence. But it's all a lot of, speculation and circumspection. Who knows how it's going to go, maybe Real Madrid will look at Romero's recent injury issues and saying, well, we want a player that's going to be fit for us the entire season and not have niggling little issues that are going to hold him back and keep him off the pitch for us, because he won't be cheap.
Let's as opposed to speculation, let's just talk about what Ange might have done after calling out the senior players, because there's two senior players who've been inconsistent, definitely turned up yesterday. Both Sonny and Maddison both turned up, and good for them. And maybe it worked. Maybe the bit of psychology by Ange actually helped motivate them, because they were on fire in that first half.
Yeah, of course, Sonny didn't come out for the second half, which was a bit disappointing because I was very much enjoying his performance.
Well,
What
I think it
what
was
do we think
smart
changed?
move. Smart move.
I think
Rest
it's
him.
just a case of yeah, no, absolutely. I think the second half was smart. The second half of that game was just smart game management. Naively,
Which he
as the
can't do
fan,
that.
yeah, no, he's
Which he
terrible at that. He
can't
can't.
do.
He's not able to. But as a fan, I wanted us to score 10, 12 goals yesterday. I really wanted to push and make a statement, have a statement win. But 5-0 at halftime is a statement win. When you sit back and you take a measured look at it, I can recognise 5-0 at halftime is a statement win. And if you've managed to rotate your side in the second half and everybody's strolling around and not putting themselves under too much pressure and well, hopefully no one's got any major injuries. We'll see on Jed Spence because he was looking a bit stiff at the end of the game. But if you can get through that, then and everybody's a little bit fitter and a little bit more ready to go for Thursday, then it'll be worth it. It will be worth it. But I would have loved to have seen 10 or 12 goals yesterday.
Yeah, it didn't really matter.
What do you think was the difference? What do you think is the difference between Sonny
Yeah,
in recent performances and Sonny
I think
against
two
Southampton?
things. Sonny cannot start every game. Taking him off was perfect. Taking him off, he just can't. He's 32 years old. The mind is willing and the heart is willing, but the body isn't capable.
He's played a lot of football as well.
He's been playing a lot of football the last 5, 10 years. Just needs to be. We need to rotate him better. Unfortunately, we don't have those people we could rotate in because they're out injured. So that's why I think, unfortunately, Ange is having to be forced to overplay him. So I think taking him off was a brilliant deduction move. Unfortunately, he's probably going to start Thursday and then start on Sunday. That's just too many games. Anyway, I actually also think Sonny is a proud man, and I believe that Ange calling out Werner, who isn't actually a Spurs player, he's an on loan player, was actually a good thing because I think he was sending a message to the veterans in general. And quite frankly, we've got some players who are just too nice. He's our top goal scorer, but I think Brennan Johnson is just too fucking nice. Sonny is too nice. We need guys like Boval's got a little bit of oomph in him, and Dragishin probably has it in him. We need a little bit more of that. Not so nice. So maybe the rockets that Ange shot off on Thursday helped yesterday's first half cavalcade of goals.
Werner has been very disappointing this season. There were points last year. He got a lot of criticism at times last season, and I thought it was maybe slightly over the top. He was there to do a job, and he came in and he did that job. He was there to be quick and ping the ball across, and he was quick and he pinged the ball across. This year, he's not had that same level of effectiveness, I feel. And maybe it's because he doesn't think he's going to get a permanent contract with us, and so he's not just not fully bought in because of that. Maybe it's that. Or maybe he just needs a break. Again, he's played a reasonable amount of football. He's also had a reasonable number of injuries as well, just little niggling ones here and there, which have disrupted his consistency in terms of playing. So maybe he needs a run, but he's not going to get a run in that position at Spurs. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to oust Sonny from that position. I think if young Mikey Moore was fit, Mikey Moore would have been playing behind Sonny. He would have been the player coming on instead of Timo Werner. Absolutely. And if that's the case, then Timo Werner has no future at this club.
Which
and you've got to remember, Yang Min-hyuk has joined today. He's joined the club today. And he will be officially registered in January. And although I doubt he will play, he will be an option. And if he comes in and trains well, then maybe he can change Ange's mind and say, right, okay, well, he's clearly an option for now. I don't think he's going to get there just yet because it's a huge step to take. But hopefully, Mikey Moore will be back soon. Hopefully, they will look at it and they say, well, maybe we can give someone like Luca Williams-Barnett a bit more of exposure, because he is another extremely good young player who can play out in that position. And if Timo Werner is not going to step up, it's Luca Williams-Barnett. If Timo Werner is not going to step up, he's like 16, 17 years old. He's scored from the halfway line on 2 occasions this season in the lower ranks of the club. If Timo Werner is not going to step up this season, then Timo Werner needs to leave in January and create the space for someone else who will. Absolutely. Because at the moment, although he's holding a spot and we have spots available, when he comes on, he's a net negative to the side, not a net positive. Even in yesterday's game when he came on, I didn't think he was great. He did a few things okay, but I would have expected similar players to do better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, he needs a sports psychologist. You cannot miss that many chances unless there's something going on in your life that it's causing you to lack the confidence to just bury them. Really, he does, and he's not our player. And if some of those guys do actually return from their illness, the sickbed, then auf Wiedersehen, Timo.
Yeah. I mean, you followed American sports. For me, he's got a classic case of the yips. You will know more about the yips than me because you've talked to sportsmen in America, and I'm sure a lot of them have gone through exactly that kind of thing. But the yips has ended career, certainly in golf. It's ended people's careers. And I think that we're seeing the decline in Timo Werner's career because he's just not got his head around that finishing. And I think it is, as you said, I think it's a mentality thing. A mentality is key when you get to this level. I think I listened to an interview years ago from a scout or from a head coach, and he said, you could take a player from the Championship, and if you compare them technically to a Premier League player, there's almost nothing between them. The difference is what goes on between the players' ears. It's not about their ability on the field in terms of being able to control the ball or the way they strike the ball. It's about the mentality that they have going out on the pitch, how they're going to take control of things, how they're going to command things, the positivity they have, the self-belief, the self-determination that they have, that they're going to go out and make something different. And when I look at Timo Werner, I do not see self-belief or self-determination. I just see defeat written across his face.
Absolutely.
And you look at Lucas Bergvall. You look at his face, and that boy is determined to go out and win.
Yeah,
there's a steely determination there.
Yeah, he loses the ball, whatever, gets up and he goes, I'll do it again. By the way, I interviewed Andy Roddick, who had won a Grand Slam, who's now retired, but I've spoken to him after his retirement, and he made mention to me, and I spoke to someone else last week about this, that, for instance, in tennis, the elite players now, and they have an entourage that goes with them, and one of the entourage for the elite players is a sports psychologist, to keep them because they are under constant pressure week in, week out, and they swear by these sports psychologists that you have to get the right one, of course, and I believe your father was a psychologist, but it could well be that we have to use them more in English football. They are used over here in America, so well, it'd be great to have one on staff.
They are used in English football now. So many years ago, I actually went and talked to a professional football team about my dad my father going and working with him. My dad is a psychotherapist, and going and talking to them about him going and working with him. And this is much lower down the leagues, and nobody at the time, even Premier League clubs, were doing it. And it's only, I think the first manager to bring it in it may have been Wenger, but I've got a feeling it was Sam Allardyce was the first one that brought in a full-time sports psychologist onto his payroll. I think Wenger had one who just came in part-time, but Sam Allardyce when he was at Bolton, had a full-time sports psychologist on his payroll, and it made a difference. I mean, just talking about myself, I had a fairly bad knee injury when I was young. I was scoring. Right, this is. I'm not trying to fool anyone into thinking that I was a good footballer. I was terrible. But this is Parks football. But playing Parks football, I was scoring loads of goals and enjoying my game a huge amount, because I would make sure that I would be the first one to the ball and just nick it past the goalkeeper, and I would score a ton. But I picked up a fairly bad knee injury by getting in predictably into a collision with a goalkeeper, because he for once got there before me, and it took me a while to recover, and I never mentally recovered from it. Or I say never. It took me a good couple of years, and it took me sitting down with my dad and having a chat with him and talking through the issues that I was having for me to get anywhere back to my better performances. And by that time, my knee was already a little bit screwed, so it was never quite as good, but I wasn't enjoying it as much. And I think when you lose the enjoyment, then it can have a knock-on effect to the rest of your game. And I don't think Timo Werner's enjoying it as some of the other players are.
Absolutely. You can see that he's hiding, and he's almost afeared to come on the pitch, because he's going to get a chance and he's going to sky it. I don't think negatively about him. I actually wish him well. I wish he would turn it around for us. But
absolutely.
Something obviously is going on, and it is unfortunate. I don't think negatively. I don't say these things about any of our players. If they're not cutting it, fair enough, move on. But I hate to say anything horrible, as a lot of fans say horrible things about human beings who have issues, and they are all human like us and have issues that may be beyond the football pitch, actually, for all we know.
Yeah, I think there are a number of players out there that could do with seeing a sports psychologist, and it could have a significant effect on their ability to play the game. And I think Spurs as a club could probably do with having someone there talking to players on a regular basis. I don't know what the makeup is behind I've never heard of there being a sports psychologist on the staff.
Right, they've never mentioned, right.
They've never mentioned it, but then very, very few clubs do. But it is a fairly standard thing nowadays. Maybe there is one that we just don't know about. I kind of get the feeling that Ange feels that he's got the ability to talk to most people about most things, but when it comes to specific subjects, they'll find someone who's the right person to talk about. Like the Richarlison stuff, where he admitted he was struggling, and said, admittedly, I'm not the best person for him to come and talk to, because I'm not going to be able to get through to him to exactly resolve his issues, but we will do our best to find the right person to do that for him.
Look what happened, and because we didn't have the resources to help him, look what happened to Dele Alli at the top of his game, and then obviously something was going on, and the resources weren't there to help him. And look what's happened. He has basically disappeared. And that's it. We'll always have that Crystal Palace goal, or those 2 goals against Chelsea, those 2 headers against Chelsea. So
that little lob against Arsenal,
I mean,
by the way, he may be signing for Como, is the news that's been around today.
Como in Italy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be lovely, because I think Dele's a great player, and I think he's 28, 29 years old now. He's still got time in his career to get back and do something. If he's managed to battle his demons and come out ahead, I would be delighted, because despite having some downtimes with him at the club, he's still a player I've got a lot of time for. He was
Absolutely. I think we all did.
an excellent young player for us, and I think he showed the kind of battling commitment that we want from all of our players. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, good luck to him. And as you said,
Good.
Timo Werner, I'd love to see Timo Werner do well. I'd love to see him turn things around and make it impossible for us not to sign him at the €8.5 million or whatever it is we need to spend to buy him, because that would be cheap. But I just don't, at this moment in time, I just don't see it happening. Is my concern.
Absolutely. So let's just move ahead then. 2 big games coming up.
Yeah, just small teams in red. Yeah, they haven't won a lot, have they? These two, Liverpool, Manchester United. They're not really much of a threat, I think. Oh god. So Manchester United.
They'll both come to play, which is a good thing for us. They'll both come
to play. Yeah, which works in our favour. I think probably Manchester United is, well, not really a lot about. Manchester United is the easier match. I think they had a little bit of a booster against Manchester City, but they could have easily lost that one. I mean, it was a fairly tight game, really. And I think if some better decisions had been made by Manchester City players, then they wouldn't have had the chances they had. I think the new manager's still settling in. The new manager's got some way to go before anything is really decided in terms of who is going to be his starting players. And has he got his players in the club yet? Has he got the kind of players he wants there in the positions that he wants to be playing? I don't think he does. I think January's going to be some players in and out. In the summer, there's going to be a lot more players going in and out, which is kind of par for the course for Manchester United and Manchester United managers. But it's a one-off game, and one-off games are particularly tricky and difficult to predict, certainly cup games. I'd love to see us do well. As you said, they'll come and play. They've also played a reasonable amount of football recently, so they may be as tired as we are. The new manager bounce is probably going to be more in their favour than ours, because we don't have that. We've just got still people complaining about Ange, despite having just won 5-0. And then Liverpool on their worst run of the season. They've drawn their last 2 matches. They haven't won in 2 games. Liverpool, really good side. I have seen them this season. Liverpool steamroller sides. Liverpool play very, very good football. They've got a pattern of play. They know how it's going to go. And they kind of make sides submit to their will. And unfortunately, I can see us losing that one, because they've got the better players, and I think they've got the momentum that goes with it, despite only drawing the last 2 matches. What do you think?
I don't know, actually. Depends on who we've got to play. If Udagi or Spence are injured, it weakens us even more. Once again, Stu, I'd like us to take the hit on this season. And see, I didn't want Andy out right now. I'm not convinced of him, but I want to see what he can do with a full team, and with a team that's progresses. These young guys, given another year, maybe even. Not totally out of my hands. So, I'm not as disappointed as a lot of our CADs can be. I see positive things, and it is sort of out of our hands anyway. But let me tell you, I was freaking entertained yesterday, and there have been some games this season where even that first half Brighton, even the part of the first half in Chelsea, both Man City games, the Aston Villa game, the Manchester United game away. We've scored 7 goals in Manchester this year, and 2 clean sheets. They're mixed in with some games for sure, but there has been some excitement, and I know it when Mr. Weeksy, I bet you, was cheering on, sipping his wine, cheering on when we were blasting them in yesterday, and I'm sure he had a
Of course it
smile on
was.
his face afterwards, And John Chase, I'm just mentioning some of the guys, Barry Mead, some of these guys who just, what can I say? I'm enjoying the entertainment when it's served up. I'm enjoying it. Man U are my personal bogey team. It was my dad's team, so every year we would just go, and Mum would be in the middle and not side with either one of us. Although she's the reason I became a Spurs fan because she liked the look of the all white jerseys with no sponsors' names and nothing on it, all white, and the socks white with no trim, no nothing, all white on the European nights.
Before
So
the days of
Man U are
Holston.
my kind of bogey team, and they're the team I would want to beat the most out of any team, even though my dear dad has passed on. I know he's listening.
No, I mean Barry Mead, John, David. I mean David. I think is. I know David personally. I've known him for many years, and all he wants is to see Tottenham doing well. But I think that's exactly the same with David and John and Barry. I think every single one of those guys wants to see Tottenham Hotspur doing well. They're not one of the guys that you see on social media slagging the club off just to try and get a rise out of
I don't
people.
look at those people. I don't look at those
Yeah,
people. I don't.
their criticisms are down to what they believe is the best thing for the club. My criticism is down to what I think is the best thing for the club. My support is down to what I think is for the best thing in the club. And I think right now, Ange Postecoglou is the best option we have. And I think we need a period of consistency, sustainability. We need to have somebody who's got the club's interests at heart, somebody who wants to see us progress in the way that we fans want to see it. We want to see good football. We want to see attacking. And I think those meet his values. I think our values align.
I agree.
And if we've got that manager, and we've got a manager who has a history of winning things and turning things around, yes, it may take a season longer than it has traditionally with him. But he's still in all 4 competitions currently. Maybe that will change in the next week, but right now we're still in 4 competitions. We could win all of them. We won't, but we could win all of them.
What you're not throwing the league into that 4th competition, are you? Winning the league?
We're still mathematically we can still win all 4 competitions.
Let's be
I'm
realistic.
a man of cold hard numbers. Mathematically,
we could possibly win 3 of them.
realistically, it ain't gonna happen. But there was a
one of
study
the
that said
3.
that after the first 11 games, there's very little change in the positions of clubs. They might move 1 or 2 places, but not much more than that. So after those games, I think we were 11th. So our best finishing option, if that's correct, is about 9th, which would be seen as a disappointing season. I personally, we're 3 points off 5th place, I think, at the moment. 3 or 4 points off 5th place.
5 off.
I think that's 4th. Where we're going to be looking at.
5 off 4th.
5 off, yeah, 5 or 4th, and 4 off 5th, I think. So I've got the table up here. I'll be able to tell you in just a second. Manchester City are on 27 points. We're on 23. So we're 4 points off 5th place. And 5 points off 4th place.
Right.
So,
Which,
I mean, we can catch...
show you how everyone's just beating each other up, You win 2 or 3 in a row, and you'll be in 5th place, knocking on the door.
Nottingham Forest have lost 3 of their last 6. Let's have a look. Bournemouth are probably the form side. Well, beyond Chelsea are the form side. Chelsea have won 5 of their last 6 and drawn the other 1. Bournemouth have won 4 of their last 6. And genuinely, Chelsea Chelsea 5 of their last 6, yeah, as well. So, I mean, Bournemouth are the outlier, really. I think everybody else is doing about as well as expected. Nottingham Forest, despite all the plaudits and everything they're getting, have only won half of their games in the last 6.
You know, two of the teams who are our competitors for, you know, usual competitors for the top 6 are below us, Newcastle and Man U. You know, really, they must be in the bottom half, Newcastle and Man U. If we're in 11th, Man U.
Well, we're 10th. They're 12th and 13th.
There you go. And those are, you know, within the last couple of years, top 4 teams. So
with significantly bigger budgets than we've got as well.
Right.
So, I mean, this is the other thing. Historically, we have been a sensibly run club working off sensible transfer fees and sensible wage budgets. I don't think you can say the same thing about Newcastle United or Manchester United. Obviously, both have been subject to PSR, which has tied their hands just a little bit, but they spend more on wages than we do.
Yeah.
Percentage-wise, in terms of their income, they spend more on wages than we do. If you look at the way things are changing over the next few years, there's, you know, a percentage of your income can be spent on wages, and that's coming down by X percent over the next few years. And we're the only club that is prepared for 4 or 5 years ahead. Really, only top club that fits that mould. So, I mean, this could be an absolute genius masterstroke by Daniel Levy to get us ready ahead of time. And take advantage of any slip-ups from other clubs as they have to tailor their wage bills and everything else that goes with it. So who's to say that's not the way it's going to happen? Talking of, I'm trying to organise a group of people to come in and discuss the whole levy out side of things. I'm trying to get someone in who's levy out. I'm trying to get somebody who's levy in, and somebody who's on the cusp who could go either way, and get everybody's opinions and try and talk finances and try and talk motivation and what has upset people and things like that. So that may be coming up in the future. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you look at the table.
Since you asked me a couple of minutes ago, I think we're actually going to beat Man U and Liverpool. Or we're going to get a result against Liverpool. We're going to beat Man U. Yeah. And we're going to get a result against Liverpool. That's
what about Nottingham Forest?
We're playing at home against both of them, right?
Let's have a look.
Man U home,
yes.
For sure.
Next 2 games are at home. And then we're away against Nottingham Forest.
Win against Man U and a result against Liverpool. And I've been wrong many times, but that's what I'm hoping for.
Haven't we all? It's the joy of supporting our football club is we just have no idea what's coming our way.
Exactly.
Even against Southampton last night before the game, there was a voice in my head saying, "This may not be as easy as you think. This may not be as easy as you think," because we thought we were going to do well against Crystal Palace.
Yeah, somebody at CADS at half-time said, "Gee, this is one of the first games I've actually I can relax." It was at half-time, and I'm going, "Yeah, that's so true. Like, how many games at half-time can you relax? None."
Well, I felt better after that 5th goal went in. Who was it? Was it Louise? Louise posted in the thing in the match chat. She was saying, "Come on, if you're a Spurs fan, you are thinking it right now." And I was like, "We could do with another goal to make things safe, or 2, because we know what we like." I mean, it's just that 3 goals up against Manchester City and losing 4-3 at half. Yeah.
By the way, that 5th goal. Maddison was being dragged off the pitch by his sleeve as he scored that goal. Being dragged off the pitch, you know?
Yes, I have asked this very question today. Would he have hit the ball into the same place if he hadn't been dragged out of his standard body shape? I think that was a lucky hit. I mean, it was beautiful. I loved it. I think that was a lucky hit.
So we got to thank the defender for the assist.
We got to thank the defender for putting it almost an impossible angle.
Yes,
it was a great goal. No, it's a lovely move. The goals I really liked. I thought Pape Matasar's was very nice. But the one I liked most was the first goal. The first goal, which was a really nice move and a good run, a choreographed run, and a lovely finish from James Maddison. I think that was the best goal of the match because it's the kind of thing that we can replicate on more than one occasion. We can see that goal time and time again. So seeing him run through, I was amazed it was him that was being put through. I thought, when I saw that ball going through, I was like, Solanke's going to get on it. No, it's James Maddison. So,
well, he said after the match that he loves that sort of run. And to be fair, he's done that a couple of times on long passes from Romero.
Kulusevski against Manchester City. Yeah, he's done it all right.
So, by the way, here's one more before we go. Because our other guys like Maddison, like Johnson, what about Solanke? He just doesn't seem to be getting the chances. It's almost as if he is a decoy, a very important decoy. When we're in the last third, further on, he's doing all the pressing and hard work, without a doubt. I love the guy. But it's almost as if he's being the guy. He's not the guy running into, just as you just said a couple of minutes ago. He wasn't the guy running into that position for Spence to pass it. Or even the other ones where, when he shinned it in the other game, like it was Man City when he shinned it in. That wasn't the Solanke up there. That was Maddison. So what is up with Solanke? Is it the way we're playing? He's just not even getting chances. Forget about missing chances. He's not even getting chances.
If he was getting chances and missing them, I'd be concerned. The fact is, he is scoring goals when he gets chances. But for me, I think it's the biggest area where we could make, without bringing players in, where we could make a significant improvement. Is by improving our setup play for him, by getting him more involved in that final move where he's the one finishing it off. There have been times this season where he's been going for it and Johnson's just got in there ahead of him and knocked the goal in. He could be 2-3 goals better off than he has been if Brennan Johnson hadn't been playing, because he would have been there putting the ball in instead. But I think we got used to playing last season without having that focal point. We got used to playing the ball across the goal for the other wide guy to come in and score goals, and I think we're still kind of doing that. We got used to playing balls through for our midfielders to run onto and score goals, and we're still doing that. Last year we didn't have that focal point because, as much as I love Sonny, I don't think he's a central attacking player.
No, that's a good point.
And Richarlison seems like a lovely fella, but the man's made of biscuits, as somebody else said. So, I just can't rely on him to be fit enough, long enough to get into that role. So I think we got used to a way of playing last season, and I don't think we fully adapted to having a number 9 back in the side. A very good, high-quality number 9 who does a lot of running, who leads the line well, who actually links up better with people than I thought he would, who puts the pressure on the defence better than I thought he would. It's just the goals at the moment, I think, is the only thing. And when that starts, he will score a few, but it's going to be when that starts to come in.
Oh, Stu, sign you up. Consultant to Spurs. Good concept. I think it was it the Chelsea game where he did score when he made that incredible move in front of the defender and knocked it in from, was it Decky or Brennan? I don't know who passed it in. He obviously, as you said, when he gets a chance, he can score and scores quite well. But you're right. It's a good point that we just haven't, because we're not, like you said, we're not seeing him actually get chances and missing them like Timo. He's just not getting those chances, So we're obviously not set up to do that. Good point. Consultants.
And the thing is, those of us who are sofa football analysts, we can look at it and we can say this is what I think is going on. But I mean, if you ask me how we could improve it, I've got no idea. I'm not a coach. I just think just play him a couple of yards further forward and maybe he'd get more chances. But he's doing really good. I think he's playing extremely well, and has absolutely justified the money we spent on him. And
Absolutely.
I've been very happy with. If you asked me to list the players I'm happy with this season, he'd be at least midway through the group, if not towards top half. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's second half of the season. We've got to find more ways to when we get our players back, more ways to get him into the final third, because he will score.
Yeah. Exactly, and I think I think once again he came in and he wasn't an early summer signing. He came in relatively late and didn't have that pre-season training with us really. So it's not really a surprise to think that we still haven't integrated him fully, because he doesn't know the way that we work. He's learning it in bits and pieces in between games. So it's been okay. It's been a good start. It's not been fantastic in terms of goals, but his ability on the ball, his ability to press, his touch is superb. And, that has set him apart. And I think he's way ahead of Richarlison. And you see the difference when he's not there and Sonny is playing in the middle. We're missing that strength. We're missing that focal point.
Absolutely. Anyway,
so for me, that's an area we can improve on. I'm kind of hoping that Lancashire or Veliz or Dane Scarlett or one of those players can step up and just take the spot later on and can be his backup, because it's a very expensive position to have to try and reinforce.
You know what? Lancashire is so big. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could have another Martin Chivers sort of guy? Remember Martin Chivers? I don't know if you were too young.
No, I don't remember Martin Chivers. I am not that old.
You're not that old? You can remember Martin Chivers, or you can't?
I know the name. I've never seen Martin Chivers play.
I didn't. Sometimes I don't hear what you're saying. You didn't see him play. Well, we'd moved to North America, so I didn't get to see him much either, just on highlights. But from what I gathered, he was such a unit, 6'2", 6'3", and just powerful. And Lancashire, when I'm like, holy jeez, that guy's kind of like Martin Chivers. So
he's a big boy.
Austin could speak to Martin Chivers. Austin probably saw.
I bet he could.
Yeah.
For Lancashire, I don't think we're playing it to him in the way that we want to. Yesterday we were threading balls through, and that's not going to work for him. You look at how we played with him in the under-21s. You don't thread balls through to him. You give him balls to attack. You play the ball into the area where he can attack it, whether with his foot or his head, and he'll get goals. But in terms of just threading a ball through and expecting him to beat a player in pace and hold someone off and then take a shot, not quite his game.
Yeah, look up a YouTube video of Martin Chivers and see if since you've seen Lancashire play and I haven't, see if you see any similarities there, which would be great, because he was just powerful. He could score from distance. He was a great header. But you're right. He wasn't that guy being slipped in like Maddison is being slipped in. He would use his strength and speed. He used his power actually, and he was just a big unit that scored a lot of goals for us. A lot of goals for us.
And you've got to remember, he's 19 years old and he's still learning how to play the game effectively at that age. So there's more to come from him. I think he's a very high level prospect.
Yeah.
There are players I think are better than him at youth level. Mikey Moore is definitely better than him. Mikey Moore is better than the vast majority of youth players that I've seen. So, that's a high bar too. But I also think that Jamie Donnelly and Lancashire link up very, very well together. So if you get those two into the team together at any point, then you'll see some nice link-up play, because those two do combine well.
Where is Donnelly's on loan?
He's on loan at Leyton Orient.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's starting to get some games there as well, which is good.
All right. Good chat.
All right, mate. Well, thank you for your chat this evening. Sadly, nobody else can make it, but it was still a good chat. Thank you very much for coming. And we will not be here after the first after the Liverpool game on the 23rd of December. That's
Hopefully we'll
just
have a
shortly
smile
before
on our
Christmas.
faces.
Well, it depends how much whiskey or port or whatever your festive tipple is. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you very, very much for joining us, Ash. And as always, until next time, and come on, you Spurs.
Indeed.